Greetings! My name is Anna Cunningham, and I'm going into my 5th year of teaching at Philip O'Berry Academy of Technology. In the past 5 years, I've taught all across the high school gamut, from AP English Language and Literature to Honors English 2 to Honors English 3, and now in this upcoming school year, back to my favorite age range, Honors English 2 with sophomores. I'm originally from Potomac, Maryland, and I graduated from Northwestern University in 2011 with a double major in English and Political Science. A unknown fact about me is that I'm an avid cyclist, and in 2012 I completed a 110-mile bike ride from the Pentagon all the way to Gettysburg to raise money on behalf of wounded war veterans. I am so excited about the upcoming school year so I can continue the vision that I've always held for students, and that is how to cultivate a nationally competitive student. I consider that a nationally competitive student is one who possesses grit, operates with a growth mindset, and engages in rigorous academic content that will prepare them for any post-secondary opportunity possible. In addition, I want students to be able to engage in meaningful dialogue on contemporary issues, as well as have a deepened sense of empathy with those who may not share the same experience as them. In the past academic school year, I had 3 forms of accountability to really deepen my students' ability to operate as a nationally competitive student. In the first, I wanted students to be able to engage in meaningful dialogue with rigorous academic coursework. So students were asked to engage with an excerpt from Henry David Thoreau's Walden, in which they were expected to draw parallels between the central thesis of Thoreau's essay and relate that argument to contemporary society. As we can see in the essay asked, they had multiple steps that they had to complete. They needed to submit a rough draft, the type notes that they needed to have, and then complete a final draft. I gave them 6 areas in which they could focus, which was Thoreau's idea of simplicity, that ranged from Thoreau's idea of simplicity to the rough nature of life, and then living in the natural life, and what does that constitute now as far as the idea of privilege. I found that students were able mostly to have a 70% pass rate, and they were able to parse out significant tenets of Thoreau's ideas and connect them with a relevant societal issue. In the second assignment, I wanted students to be able to reflect on what it meant to be a nationally competitive student on their ideas of college readiness. So I was able to engage with a cohort of students with whom I had focus for the past year, and they were asked to complete a reflection in which they were asked a multitude of questions so that they could understand how well they were expected to perform on a post-secondary level. And this was part of the nationally competitive college cohort. Their nifty task was that they were asked to reflect that throughout their cohort experience that we had shared fundamental pillars, and how did they feel that those pillars prepared them for their post-secondary success in which they were all attending college. And what was really exciting is that this cohort of students far exceeded students in their class, in which 2 of those students were able to gain a full academic scholarship to Winston-Salem University. 2 of those students are Covenant Scholars at the University of Chapel Hill. 1 student received significant financial aid from Wake Forest University, and the others are attending either Chapel Hill or North Carolina State University. So these students were asked a series of reflective questions on the different pillars that included the pillar of gratitude, the idea of paying it forward, and salient life values. In my final form of accountability, I asked students to reflect on their classroom experience, in which they needed to complete a final exit review in which they highlighted the most salient parts of their experience in my class. Each student completes a final exit review, and they are able to truly express how they felt about my class, which is always a significant experience. And a few of these A few of these examples really highlight what the class meant to them, as they can express that they've learned to be a nationally competitive student, and really express their gratitude, and really understand that my class is designed to build their mindsets and cultivate their inner talent so that they are able to be academically and personally successful in the future. Other elements of my vision really does extend to what I hoped students would experience on a quantitative level. And the first is that as I taught Honors English 3 for the first time in 4 years, my students would take the North Carolina final exam. In the past, I had been used to the North Carolina end of course exam with English 2, so I thought that exams were scored on a 4 or 5 scale. But as I learned with any NCFE, students are scored on a 100-point scale. And so I was most excited to learn that 95% of my students demonstrated proficiency on the North Carolina final exam. That really demonstrated how well students had grasped and internalized the academic context and the content so that they were able to perform their best. I was so thrilled that students were able to perform so well as deemed by the standards of North Carolina, and that they're set up to far exceed the expectations that have been set in previous classes. The second element that meant a lot to me was the North Carolina graduation paper. All students have experienced the horrors and the stresses of the North Carolina graduation paper in their junior year, in which students are expected to write a 6 to 8 page research paper that focuses on one topic that they will need to demonstrate an extension of community involvement in their senior year. And so students must write this paper in their junior year, and in the data that I was able to collect from my students, 70% of them were able to demonstrate proficiency on the graduation paper. That really meant a lot to me on a personal level because I had taught that paper 4 years ago in my first year, and students did not perform nearly as well. So the fact that over 70% of my students were able to pass the paper and not have to worry about it and not have to rewrite it or have any sort of major discrepancies demonstrated not only my growth as a teacher and able to teach kids how to write, but also their own research abilities. It'll greatly help them when they arrive to college. The final bit of accountability that I was able to ascertain was the ACT data that my principal had shared with me. The goal was that I wanted my students to be able to score above the North Carolina state average, which is the 19, and be able to reach the national average of a score of 21. And our school improvement goal plan was that over 68% of our students were going to be able to demonstrate greater proficiency on the ACT exam. Those results are not yet, while the results of our students are known, my principal has yet to still be able to share with me the Excel form of our students' performance, but I know that in conversations we're still going to work to improve our overall proficiency on the ACT so that we can best prepare our students for national standardized tests in which they're going to be able to demonstrate their academic preparedness. I am able to say with great confidence that students really have exceeded the qualitative elements of my vision, in which they really are poised to operate as nationally competitive students and really understand the expectations of their college professors and understand the academic skills that they're going to need to be prepared for the workforce. I would definitely say that I will work on aligning my vision to the school improvement goals of my school so that students can be even more academically prepared. And I'm hoping that my students continue to operate as nationally competitive students. And as an educator, I'm going to work on expanding their reach of their potential beyond the four walls of my classroom and an overall school. Thank you for visiting the Nationally Competitive Corner, and I look forward to speaking with all of you soon.